Mike Warren from Turtle Bay. Good morning.
Good morning.
We offered you coffee. I even cleaned the kitchen this morning.
He did the dishes just for you.
Well, that's nice. I'd like to have scrambled eggs and toast if you don't mind.
Once we get an oven installed,
I offered you a burrito.
You did do that.
I did, yeah.
A little early for me.
Okay, so welcome to the show.
Mike is here to talk about Turtle Bay. And last night, the big city council meeting, the big vote came in last night on the land sale for Turtle Bay. Just over 14 acres of land being sold from the city of Reading to the McConnell Foundation. And this is the land that is going to be used for the new hotel at Turtle Bay. You know, Mike, obviously, because you're involved. There's been a lot of talk and rumor and controversy and all sorts of things regarding this land. And the reason for the land sale, explained to everybody, is because this was considered a public project until this land sale was approved, which meant that building the hotel, that the workers would have to be paid what's called prevailing wage. And the fact is that would have added a bit of purchase price, or a bit of a price, $1 to $2 million to the cost of the hotel.
Actually, we know exactly what it would have been added, how much more it would have cost. It's $3 million on a little over $3 million on a $12.5 million construction project. And the reason we know is the contractor got bids both ways, both prevailing wage and non-prevailing wage.
So the sale of this land cancels that out, because then it becomes a private project.
That's right. Actually, about a year ago, the unions had a press conference, and they said, we think this is a prevailing wage project, but if you don't want it to be prevailing wage and you say you can't afford it, then go purchase it for fair market value. Mm-hmm. So it was their suggestion that we do that. And
so fair market, this is what happened. You did this, what you did. You went and you got some folks to come in and appraise the property. Several different appraisals came in, and this is where people, I think, are very confused, because we've seen figures from $75,000 all the way up to $3+ million or $4+ million. So explain what the situation is with the appraisals and why they are so different.
They, the unions are saying, well, it should be a $4 or $5 million value to the property. And as I told you before we got on the air, Patrick, how much would you or I pay for property that we cannot use for 88 years? And that's 2202 is when you can start using the property. And the reason is the city can sell the property, but they can't sell the lease. We own, Turtle Bay owns the lease. It's kind of like you've rented space in an office building.
So no matter what happens to that property for the next 88 years, you can't do anything to it.
Turtle Bay can do something
but
with
nobody
it,
else.
but nobody else can do anything with it. Mm-hmm. We own the lease. And so one of the things I've heard is, well, McConnell, when they bought the property, they didn't buy it with the lease. Well, they did. They had to. We didn't give up. We're not going to give up the lease for the next 88 years. So, so they got 3 different appraisals, and the 3 different appraisers, which are MAI appraisers, which is the highest certification for an appraiser, said the value, as you said, is between $75,000 and $400,000. McConnell paid more. There was a 4th appraiser, too. Mm-hmm. I thought of this last night after we got off the phone. That was done by the Department of Industrial Relations of the state of California. That appraiser, very well-known appraiser in the state of California, named Claude Gruen, he said the property isn't worth anything. So if we're going to have a range, it's 0 to $425,000.
Well, let's clear up the one appraiser who said it was worth in the millions. And the reason, you have to read
without the lease.
Right, you have to read the whole thing. He said if there was no lease on this property for the next 88 years, it would be worth this amount.
Right.
But because there's an 88-year lease and it's not usable for the next 88 years for whoever purchases the property, it's worth nothing.
It's worth, we had an appraiser that, well, we don't have one, but there was an appraiser that came to the meeting last night, and he says, I think it's way overvalued at $600,000, $400,000. Mm-hmm. I think it should be less than that. I think it should be closer to 0.
We've got a difference of opinion here, but last night it all came to a head with the city council in Reading voting 3-2 to sell the property, and the purchase price was $600,000. And it was 3-2, and it went down just pretty much the way everybody thought it would go down, with Gary Cadd and Patrick Jones voting no, and the rest of the city council voting yes. So,
which is exactly what was predicted to happen.
Yeah.
So that's done.
They've been consistent.
That's done. So what's next on the agenda?
Well, I guess we have to wait 30 days and see whether they're able to get 4,700 signatures. If they are, big question whether Turtle Bay is going to be around.
Right.
So this is what
honest.
this is what I want to say with the hotel situation. This hotel being built will bring in a lot of money for the city of Reading. You mentioned yesterday to me that over 20 years, we're talking $14 million for the city of Reading, which would mean at this time too that Turtle Bay would be a self-sustaining agency, nonprofit, and this is the future of Turtle Bay is hinging on this hotel.
That's right. When the city, let's go back a ways. When the city council, and especially Patrick Jones, said, we're not going to fund you anymore because we can't, for good reason, the economy was not doing well. They said, go out and be independent. Don't depend upon us or government. Go run this thing like a business. Get your own income and don't depend on us. It was a challenge. But okay, that's exactly what we did. And we went out and we looked at what we had as options. We have property not on waterfront. Let me say, people say it's waterfront property. It's along 44. It's a vacant lot and a parking lot is what we're talking about. A vacant lot on 44, right by the.
It's right by the Civic there.
By the Civic Auditorium, but I was thinking the Monolith, right by the Monolith on 44, and a parking lot. That's the land where the hotel and the parking is going to be. So we went out, we looked at that, we said, we have this asset, let's put it to use. And what can we do with the property? Well, the lease called the master lease signed by the city in 1992 says you can't put a grocery store or a liquor store or it has to be related in some way to Turtle Bay. That's in the master lease document that I brought here. So we said, is a hotel related? And the answer was yes. It was always planned to be a hotel there, and it's related to Turtle Bay, that people can come and stay there and go to Turtle Bay, etc. And so the use was all right. And so we proceeded. This is completely private money. This isn't, we're borrowing from the bank. We're using the money we have. We have two investors, one in San Francisco and the McConnell Foundation. It's private money. It's a private enterprise.
So what you're saying is it's not costing the taxpayers of Reading anything.
It's not costing the taxpayers a dime.
And it's going to be, it's a visionary project that should not only bring a lot of people to that part of town. And Turtle Bay is already a destination, and the bridge, of course, Sundial Bridge, is already a destination. Anybody who goes out there knows that. But it'll open things up to increase revenue for the city of Reading. We're talking to
how much? That's the number. How much money is coming into the city of Reading?
Well, it's very easy to compute that. Hotel tax is 10% per room. Pretty standard for the industry. City charges 10%. Goes right into the general fund. So you do 10% times number of rooms, times number of days, times average daily rate, occupancy rate. And that is, I'm looking at a big sheet here. Hotel tax is $13 million over the next 20 years. Averages, it looks like about $600,000 a year into the general fund for police and fire from hotel tax.
And that doesn't count sales tax either.
Sales tax is a lot less because we're not going to have a big sales tax producer in the hotel, and that'll be about $20,000 a year or $450,000 over 20 years. And then the property that is property tax. And the sales tax is a little bit more than that, $600,000 or about $30,000 a year for 20 years. The property tax is only the city portion. So we can compute, I won't say to the dime, but we can come fairly close that over 20 years, the general fund will have 13, 14, about a little less than $15 million into it, or about $700,000 a year into the general fund. That's what I don't get from a couple of council members. That's big money. That's 7 policemen. That's 7 firemen that are going to be
plus the jobs at the hotel. Plus the jobs at the hotel itself.
There are 70 jobs, permanent jobs from the hotel. There are 40 construction jobs. I thought this is what the city council stood for and what the community wants. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Some people say, well, you're going to take from other hotels. Let me give you a fact that on that. We've had 3 hotels added along I-5. Right, actually,
right down the street.
Right here. Yeah.
Now, we have the numbers on what other hotels are doing. In 2000, and this would be hotels that are comparable to what we're trying to do with our hotel. Occupancy rate in 2011 was 78%. These aren't my numbers. This is a group that does the statistics for hotels in the state of California. In 2012, the number was 78%, up 2% when the hotels were added. Mm-hmm. The first 11 months of 13, it's 80%, 80%. So when these hotels are added, they're added because there's a demand. And does it hurt the other hotels? Probably for a little while, but it goes right back. As long as there's a demand, they get right back to their business. And now, after the hotels are added, the occupancy rate went up.
Mike, I've got a thought on that, but we have to take a break. We're talking to Mike Warren from Turtle Bay, and last night City Council voted 3-2 to sell that land, 14.5 acres, to the McConnell Foundation. There's been a lot of controversy, and we're trying to clear up some of the misconceptions about that. We'll be right back with more at 7:31. The Billy Patrick Show. Mike Warren from Turtle Bay, and we were making the point. You were making the point when we left here that the hotel occupancy rate is up. Or is it 80% now?
With the new hotels.
Even with the new hotels. And I'm thinking, and I'm sure we're all thinking, every supporter of this project is thinking that once you put that hotel up at Turtle Bay, then people will have the opportunity to come to Redding. It's as a destination. They'll know about the trails. We got how many miles of trails over there by the river, and they'll grab their bikes and say, "This is a convenient place for me to stay. I can stay. I can hop on my bike, spend the day on the Sacramento River," and so you get more people into town.
Really, what our board did, our board is made up of local citizens, and they said, let's not build a hotel only for people from out of town. Let's also build it for the community. So there is a promenade that will go from the hotel down to the river, and that's planned for a farmer's market or a Saturday market. There are water features. There's a 4,000 square foot ballroom for special events. The bicycles. We want to advertise. This is the beginning of the trail. So when you come to stay at the hotel, you don't have to bring your bike. We want to have bikes at the hotel for our guests that they can, oh, you mean you've got trails here? Well, let me get on one of your bikes. It comes with the room and go for a ride. This will bring in people to not just Turtle Bay, but to our community. It's would be the only 4-star hotel in our community. It'll have a restaurant attached to it, and it'll be dog-friendly with patios on either side of the restaurant. You can bring your dog and eat outside.
Woo-hoo, I like that.
So,
I like that idea.
Yeah, I mean, this is designed with the community in mind because it's designed by the community, made up of a board of directors and regents of people from our community.
So I want to talk about the prevailing wage because that's been a bone of contention, and that's why this group, Revolt, is going to start gathering signatures. So a lot of people were confused about prevailing wage. This is not, honestly, we know, this is not a huge union area by any means when you compare it to other parts of the country. So a lot of people do not understand what prevailing wage is and how that works. But you mentioned to me yesterday that even with this as a private enterprise, a large percentage of the jobs are prevailing wage jobs.
Turtle Bay is not anti-union, and that's proven by the fact that when we went out to bid, we said everybody bid on it, union subs and non-union subs. 25% of this project is prevailing wage. In other words, union subs, like the electric contractor that got a bid for, not allowed to say, but in the millions of dollars, they're paying prevailing wage. Then you think, well, all the others then, 75% is not prevailing wage. Well, that's right, it's not. Just like the contractors that built your home, your doctor's office, a grocery store, everything else in town isn't necessarily prevailing wage. Prevailing wage applies to government-funded buildings. Now,
but the reality is, how many employees are we talking here to build this hotel? This is a lot of people.
Oh, it's hundreds hundreds of jobs, sure. But let me talk about the couple of the subs that aren't prevailing wage. They pay, if you think this is low, then fine. They pay $40,000 to $82,000, average of about $61,000 a year to their employees. This would be the mechanical air conditioning sub and the plumbing sub. They're non-union, But quit saying it's minimum wage jobs as a bunch of bull. It's not. It's good paying jobs. And these are people in our community that have been with these subs for 20 years, and they're getting a good wage with benefits. No, it's not prevailing wage. If you want to argue prevailing wage, go right ahead. But quit saying it's $8, $10 an hour, $12 an hour. No, it's not. 25% is prevailing wage, and the others is good paying jobs to people in our community.
Mike, we because we have time constraints, we have to pretty much say adios to this interview for this morning, but we sure appreciate you coming in. Is there any one statement you'd like to make to wind this up for our listeners this morning?
Sure. If you'd like Turtle Bay to be here, like it to succeed, like it to stand on its own, allow a business to come in, namely the hotel, and all the profits go back to Turtle Bay, into Turtle Bay for the community. It's not going to go to owners in San Francisco or another state. It stays right here. Hotel's going to be good for the community.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate it.
Mike Warren, everybody, from Turtle Bay, stating his case this morning. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you. Thank you.